Welcome to the Broken System Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Parmer. Together, we'll explore the complex problems people face in our flawed justice systems. Join me as I share the stories of those marginalized by circumstances beyond their control, often made worse by the political environment in their area. We'll discuss issues like drugs, prostitution, financial struggles, and socioeconomic issues while diving deep into the lives affected by these challenges. In each episode, I'll uncover the hidden stories, exploring the human experiences and emotions of those fighting against an unfair system. With empathy and insight, I'll discuss the systematic forces at play, personal battles, and the resilience that emerges. Through interviews, research, and storytelling, the Broken System Podcast aims to help you understand these issues better. By giving a voice to those often unheard, I hope to start the conversations that lead to a positive change and a collective effort to fix the system that has left many behind. Join me on a journey of discovery, empathy, and empowerment as we explore those stories that challenge our views and inspire us to work towards a fairer society. Welcome to the Broken System Podcast. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Broken System Podcast or its host. We encourage listeners to form their own opinion and conduct their own research. Additionally, this podcast may contain content and language that is not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you for everyone joining us this week. I appreciate it very much. I just wanted to touch base and kind of do a season 1 and season 2 wrap up with you guys and kind of go through the cases that we've went over, the conversations that we've had, and what we've got coming up on the podcast. So it's really exciting, and I'm thrilled to have you guys here and kind of go over all of this stuff. So as we begin, we'll wrap up Season 1 first. Season 1 was dedicated to the story of Donald DJ Fickey. He was murdered inside the home he was staying at on October 3rd, 2016. Originally, when it was called in as a suicide, and that caused some issues with the medical examiner who was part of the GBI. Luckily, the investigation did keep going and was eventually rooted out and realized that it was not a suicide, that it was a homicide. But because of the refusal of the GBI to change the death certificate, the Walker County District Attorney refused to prosecute the case. DJ's sister Amanda was a strong advocate for him and fought for him very hard. A few years later, she was able to get the death certificate changed from suicide to undetermined, and she continued to fight. This time last year, Marshall Payne was arrested for the murder of DJ, and currently he is out on bail and awaiting trial. Obviously, the wheels of justice move slowly, especially when it's this type of case, and it's already moved really slow, and Amanda's pushed really hard. But it looks like Marshall will go to trial in May of 2025. We'll continue to keep you guys up to date on this case and on the trial date, and when the trial happens, I'm going to do my best to be there and give you guys either live updates or at least a wrap up of everything that does happen throughout the case. So that's most important. And obviously we're lucky to get it to this point, and Amanda's fought really hard, and she's continuing to fight, to continue to stay in the district attorney's ear to make sure that Marshall is prosecuted to the fullest. I'm thankful that Amanda let me tell DJ's story, and I feel that we, will continue to do this and continue to stay in contact with her. I touch base with her to make sure she's doing good and the family's doing good, and just to see how everything's going, and hopefully this will get put to rest. So once that is, once we're out of the gag order, we may move forward and do some follow-up episodes and do some things to release some stuff on Patreon so you guys can see the case files and watch the interviews for yourself. And we're just going to continue to fight for DJ and continue to press and make sure that he gets the justice that he deserves. Season 2, we changed up a format a little bit, went into more secular type stories. The first one we did was on Braedon Rose. On October 6, 2022, Braedon disappeared. He was driving from Jacksonville to his home in Tennessee, and on his way there, he had some issues. He called his uncle, reached out to his uncle a number of different times, and then just kind of went off the radar. No one could find him. No one knew where he was at. His uncle Jason started really hard to do major searches for him, started using Facebook and did things like that. Ended up finding that his car was towed, found his car, realized where it was towed from, notified the police, found out that the police are the one that had it towed. They couldn't get any answers of, where he was at. The police kind of gave him the runaround. It was in Colleton County, South Carolina. And we know all the issues that goes on around there as it is that we've learned since the Murdaugh trials. But his uncle, fought to find him, ended up putting a search together and had some people coming to the spot where Braedon's car was found and ended up finding Braedon's body 20 feet off the road. The police could have found it, but never searched, never looked at it. And that was a scary thing for him to have to find. Currently, there are no updates on Braedon's case. The police have kind of just went off the radar with his uncle. They won't give him any information, anything like that. We've just recently, this last week, filed FOIAs with Colleton County and SLED, which is the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. And hopefully we'll get those back within the next week or two, and we can give you a little bit more update once we get into that a little bit more, because I really do want to see the autopsy report. I want to see things such as what their findings were, why they ruled it the way it would, and hopefully get some people on the phone and get some talking going about his case. So this is one that we will definitely revisit and dive back into as these seasons go. It'll probably be as bonus episodes, but we'll do that. Once we do this, I'll upload this information so you guys can see it as well. After Braedon's case, we spoke on the wrongful conviction of Temijun Kensu. We did 3 parts on this, and I wished I could come here today and say Temijun's been released and he's home with Paula and everything's good. He's sued, he's made his money, and moving on with his life. But that's not the case. Unfortunately, Temijun is still in jail. We're still fighting for him. There's consistently things going on. Paula's fighting hard to get Temijun released. Unfortunately, the Michigan governor just is having nothing of it. She won't respond. She won't give any answers. She won't give any explanations of why. She won't even take a look at Temijun's case. So we're going to continue to fight for that. I know there's some things coming. I know people are doing some stories on it and going to continue to fight for Temijun and hopefully get him home as soon as possible. It's been a long time for that farce of a trial to have convicted him and have him behind bars for as long as he has been. So I wish I had a better update on that, but unfortunately I don't. But we will continue to fight for Temijun. We will continue to share his story, and we will continue to help Paula and continue to hopefully get justice for Temijun and get him out of jail. Throughout season 2, I was joined by Lexi, and you guys got to know her, and I was very thankful to have her there, especially with doing some of these interviews that we did. So I do want to shout out to her and say thank you. We have determined that going into the next season, it's just going to go back to the standard format of me once again. I appreciate everything she did. I appreciate, and you may hear from her again on an episode or two. She's just really busy. She's got a lot going on with her stuff with Seeking Justice and the case of Dawn Pasella. So if you guys haven't checked that out, please go over and check out Seeking Justice with Lexi, Dana, and Andrea. They did a great job fighting for Dawn Pasella and some of those things. So as part of these interviews, one of the things that we did, we talked with Tony Viola in regards to his wrongful conviction. And Tony's still fighting. He's every day fighting for his wrongful conviction and also fighting for justice for Dawn Pasella as well. He's a very big advocate for justice for Dawn, and he's doing everything he can to make sure that not only is his wrongful conviction overturned, but that justice for Dawn happens, because the things that happened to her are, it's amazing that things got pushed under the way that they did. And hopefully, in a few months we can come back here and let you guys know that Tony, his wrongful conviction was overturned and justice for Dawn is coming. So that's a goal. And then kind of to end the season, we talked with Eric Carter-Landine in regards to his brother's case with Jacob. And it's another one that I wish I could come here and say, justice for Jacob has happened and there's going to be a conviction. But unfortunately, as you guys heard in that episode, things aren't well on that side. So they're kind of pushing it down and not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Eric obviously will never give up the fight for his brother Jacob, and he's going to do everything he can to keep it in the forefront of the news, and we're going to help. We're going to continue to push for justice for Jacob and continue to make sure that we push hard for all victims and victims' rights. So that's very important to us. And I'll continue as the seasons go through. As I get updates to these cases, I will do as many updates as I can. I probably didn't do as well in the last 2 seasons, and mostly because there just hasn't been a lot of movement in these cases. And that's why we do this, is because we want to keep these cases in the forefront, keep these cases on everyone's mind, and let people know that we're just not going to turn our back on the victims' families, and make sure that we're doing things right and just pushing as hard as we can to get justice for these guys. And I do want to say thank you again to all the guests that came on to our show in season 2 to speak with us in regards to their podcast, their issues, their fights, and just to know that we are still here continuing to fight for them and pushing every bit that we can to make sure that we get justice for everyone. So now that we've wrapped up season 1 and season 2, I kind of want to talk about what's coming up for season 3 and the format that I'm going to take and how I'm going to deal with it, plus also some of the hurdles that I've had to go through to be able to tell this story. Season 3 will be dedicated to Amber Spradlin. Amber was murdered June 18th, 2023, in the home of a prominent dentist in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. There's so many things about this case that are wild and crazy, and currently, as we sit today, there has been no arrest made in this case. So I want to be straightforward and upfront with the audience and let you guys know what we've had to do to go through with this case and to be able to get Amber's story out there. Unlike DJ's case, fortunately for DJ's case, we had the case file. We were able to tell DJ's story based on that case file. Currently, we have none of that for Amber's case because it is an open and active investigation. So we've had to go through a lot of different channels to get as much information about this case as possible. And I'm going to be honest and straightforward with you guys. This is a little bit different for me because this is me digging in, and it's had a lot of background, a lot of phone conversations with a lot of different people. So some of the information is going to be coming from family members. Some of this information is going to be coming from, I want to say, people that are willing to make statements but aren't willing to be on the podcast. So I'm going to have some information that I've been given that I've been told I can use the information, but I can't say where it came from. There's going to be information from other people outside of this case that have been part of it, from the legal side, from the investigation side, and there's going to be different things that happened because of the information I was given, which put me down a different path and had me start looking at other things. So in those cases, I've talked to different people. I've reached out to different formats. I've reached out to universities. I've reached out to different people that were in law enforcement in the past and in those areas, and gotten some information that way. And I'm just going to build this case the best I can. And so you know that some of this information is going to be hearsay. Some of this information may not be completely true because it is told to me through different people. So it's, kind of like the telephone game. It may have started one way, but by the time that it ended to me, it could have changed. But I do make you this promise that my goal is to get justice for Amber, period. Justice for her family, period. So however I do that, I'm going to, be honest and open with you guys. If I do have information that was given to me that I report to you guys that was wrong, and I find out that it was wrong, I'm going to let you guys know, and I'm going to correct that information. I'm going to give you that information. One of the challenges in this is I'm only getting one side of the story. I'm getting Amber's side of the story. I'm getting the family side of the story. Obviously, the people that are directly involved, I'm not getting their information because they're not giving that information out. I have reached out. I've made contact. I've sent emails. I've made phone calls, and either have been told that I needed to speak with their attorney. Once I tried to speak with their attorney, they were just saying basically no comment. Obviously, law enforcement is giving me I can't comment on this as it's an open and active investigation. So those things are happening. I have submitted FOIA for some documents. Obviously, I'm going to get some I'm not. As I get those things, we will talk through them. I will let you know what I received, how it affects what I've investigated and what I've talked about so far. And if it makes any changes, we'll redact those changes and make those changes in the podcast. But I can't guarantee that that's going to happen. As documents come available, I'm going to give them to you guys. You're going to see what I see in real time. I'm going to be posting that stuff on Patreon. So there won't be anything I'm holding back from you guys. You guys are going to see it as I see it. And I'm going to let you know, as I've went down this rabbit hole of a case, there's been other cases that have came to light that we will be talking about on the podcast, and some strange things that have happened in those cases. I've submitted FOIAs for those, and hopefully we'll be getting that stuff back soon. As we get that, I'll add that into the podcast. I'll upload it on Patreon so you guys can see it, and it's active, and you're able to see what I'm seeing. But ultimately, I just want to make sure you guys know that I've put in a lot of time and a lot of effort into researching this case. I've talked to a lot of people, and I want to do the best I can for Amber. I want to do the best I can for her family and just get her story out there and get justice for her, because she deserves it. And as you guys hear these cases and you guys hear what happened in her case, you guys are going to be blown away, and you're going to just, I don't know. I know that I have been, and I know that it's been one of those things for me. And some of this stuff is hard and heavy, and it takes a toll on you. So I'm just going to report it as I see it. I'm going to give you guys the information. I'm going to show you my work. I'm going to show you what I've done to get the information, and I'm going to do as best as I can to report properly and correctly and make sure that Amber gets justice. My goal for these episodes will be released every 2 weeks. I'm going to try to keep them to 40 to 50 minutes, probably closer to that 40-minute mark, because I feel like over that I lose you guys, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep you guys interested, and I want to keep you guys learning more about Amber's case every week and every road and every step of the way. So I'm excited for this coming up season. I'm excited to tell Amber's story and hopefully get justice for Amber. And we're going to push hard. We're going to start some campaigns and some letter writing stuff and some change.org. So hopefully those will help. And we're going to continue to support the family in every way, shape, or form. They have a vigil planned Saturday, June 15th for Amber. And I plan to attend that in Prestonburg, Kentucky, there to support her family, to support her, and hopefully get some more interviews and talk to some more people in regards to Amber's case. I plan to release episode 1 of Amber's story on June 18th, which will be 1 year since her murder. And we'll, introduce you to Amber, introduce you to her family, let you guys know what happened, and then kind of go into how we're going to deal with the case and how we're going to get justice for her. So be looking for that episode to release on Tuesday, June 18th. Now to move into a little bit more of the informal stuff. We just came back from CrimeCon, and once again, it was just an amazing environment where I was able to meet lots of people. I was able to talk about DJ's story. I was able to talk about Braedon's story. I was able to talk about Amber's story. If you saw me there, you saw that I had the Justice for Amber shirt on, and everybody that I could talk to about it, I was able to, and just pushed justice for her, and just to let them know what was going on, and to talk about what was coming up and how things were going in her case. So thank you guys for everyone that introduced themselves to me, everybody that I was able to take pictures with, everybody that, I was able to shake your hand. And if you, learned about the podcast from that, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Then coming forward, July 12th through 14th, we will be at the True Crime and Paranormal Festival, and that's going to be at the Denver Marriott in Denver, Colorado. So I hope everybody can come out. If you're in that area, please come in, talk to me in my booth. We'll talk about DJ's story. We'll talk about Braedon's case. We'll talk about Amber's case. So, by the time we get to there, hopefully we'll have an arrest made in Amber's case. Hopefully there will be some movement in Braedon's case. We can talk about Temijun, anything that you guys want to talk about, I'm happy to address with you guys. So I'm just excited to see everybody come. I'll have a booth set up there, and that once again is the True Crime and Paranormal Festival, July 12th through 14th. I'm excited about that. I get to see a lot of other great podcasters that I look up to that have helped me a lot and helped us do the things and have made us the podcast that we are today. So I just want to make sure to get as many people there to learn about their podcast as well. And then I just want to kind of say thank you to everyone that's listening and tell you guys I appreciate you very much, because over the last few months, our downloads are up and we have cracked the top 200 on Apple True Crime Podcast, which is an amazing thing for me. I never thought I would have more than one or two people listening to it. So everybody that's listened and downloaded and saved us and comes back to us every week and listens to us, I appreciate you guys more than you know. It's very humbling for me as an individual to have someone come to me and say, hey, wow, I listened to your podcast. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And I'm just amazed by that. I do this for me, and I do this for the families, and I just do this for justice for each person. And I just want to make sure, and I'm thankful that I'm able to do this and I have a voice for these family members. So just thank you very much for listening and being a part of our show and being able to give me a platform to fight for justice for these guys. And I appreciate that very much. And finally, if you like the show, please go over to Apple and leave us a 5-star review. Leaving a comment with that review helps the analytics and pushes us up into the numbers a little bit better. So thank you very much if you decide to leave us a 5-star review. If you don't like us, I would just suggest maybe not listening. If you want to give me some constructive feedback, I enjoy that. I appreciate that. You can go on Facebook and shoot me a message there, or you can send us an email at info@thebrokensystempodcast.com. If there's a case that you would like us to look at and like us to dive into, you can send that information also at the info@thebrokensystempodcast.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible on that. So thank you guys very much. We enjoy it. We appreciate you, and thank you for all you do and just pushing for justice, and thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning into the Broken System Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like what we're doing and want to support the show, consider joining our Patreon community. It's located at www.patreon.com/The Broken System Podcast. Your support helps us keep the podcast going and brings you exclusive content and perks. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated with the latest news, episodes, and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or if you're calling it X, and Instagram at The Broken System Podcast. Remember, at The Broken System Podcast, we're fixing the world one conversation at a time. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more insightful discussions in the next episode. Until then, stay curious and keep questioning.